to put it as eloquently as I can, is the absolute shit. It's ambitious and adventurous and colorfully unpredictable. God, no, that doesn't do it justice. How can I describe this movie accurately, the way it deserves to be described? Let me count the ways. We Are Little Zombies is a mindfuck of a Technicolor acid trip about grief. We Are Little Zombies is an 8-bit dreamscape about how we cope with tragedy. It's a beguiling spectacle of a story about youth and loss and growing up. It's not just a movie, it's a whole ass experience. All that and a bag of chips. But before I scream louder about how much I love this movie, first I want to acknowledge how we got here. Faced with a dilemma, Makoto Nagahisa, the director of We Are Little Zombies, wanted to find a way to escape the confinement of his corporate job. He felt uncreative and stifled. He felt like he was simply going through the motions. He felt like a zombie. How do you break free from the constraints of conformity and monotony? How do you solve your emptiness? And so, we put goldfish in the pool. Nagahisa's short film directorial debut is about a group of 14-year-old girls who set 400 goldfish free in their school's swimming pool. The piece has a frenetic energy, characterized by shifting visuals and camera techniques. Some footage is shot on iPhones, others from security cameras. At any given moment, the lighting of a scene will change drastically. The narration is melancholic and funny with a devious edge to it. In this film, beyond telling a story about growing up, Nagahisa shares his own introspection of the constrictions he felt at his job. The main characters, Akane, Ryoko, Tamigo, and Mayu, live in a small town where nothing happens, where their parents break apart their own families for just something to talk about. Their lives are boring and dull. They're only kids, but even they understand and feel the weight of the dreariness in their town. They know that they're destined to finish school there, to work there, to die there, that they'll never leave the town, and that the town will never let them leave.
つまりね、この町で生まれた時点でもう死んでんのよ。
So what they want to do is break apart this conformity, this sameness. How do you do that? By putting 400 goldfish in the swimming pool at your school, that's how. This film is about plot and it's about characters, but what it's really about, and what Nagahisa is so good at capturing, is feeling. Feelings of apathy, of hopefulness, of excitement, human emotion in all of its complexities. His work is driven by emotion, and this short film, energetic and punching, was only a preview to what he would create. So, We Are Little Zombies. How did I describe that again? A mindfuck of a Technicolor acid trip, an 8-bit dreamscape, a beguiling spectacle of a story about youth and loss and growing up. Inspired by old video games like Live Alive, modern technology, and pop culture, We Are Little Zombies is a wildly creative piece full of eclectic and insightful moments. It's a story about grief told through dark comedy, elements of fantasy and magical realism, and absolutely banging music. It's the kind of film that experiments with sound and visuals in a way that doesn't just work, but elevates the story and the experience as a whole. Hikari is 13 years old when his parents are killed, as are Yuki, Ikuko, and Ishii. The four of them meet outside a crematory during the funeral ceremonies of their respective parents. It's an unconventional meet cute and it's brilliant. The kids talk casually about their dead parents, making jokes about how Hikari calls his mom, mommy, and eventually they start to say goodbye to each other and that they need to get back to their parents before screaming. They bond instantaneously, not only because they're all orphaned, but because neither of them have cried about the tragedies. And it's not that they don't feel any sadness regarding the deaths of their parents, but that the deaths have killed the part of them that can express anything. They're numb and not numb, sad and not sad enough. Hikari narrates the story as player number 1, and he explains his lack of crying as
悲しいという感情は本当に存在しているのだろうか。赤ちゃんが泣くのはそれを解決してくれる人がいるからメッセージとして発信しているらしい。つまり僕は泣いたって意味がないから泣かない。僕は泣いたって意味がないから泣かない。って判断してんだな、体が。
They all share memories they have of their parents with fondness, somewhat, even when that fondness is unwarranted. Because not all of them have a reason to be fond of their parents at all. So they're not numb. They feel the pain, all of it. They just can't express the sadness the way people expect and want them to. Hikari starts his story during the prologue, where he tells us about his parents and about the day they died and how he can't cry. It's clear that he loved them, even if he's unsure whether or not they loved him. Ishii is the only one of the four who had a good relationship with his parents. The last memory he has of his father is his father telling him that if he wants to quit his class, he can, so long as he's making the choice for himself. Narahisa was careful to implement this into the story. He has a lot of themes he wants to share in the film, and he shared all of them, even if he could only restrict it to one scene, and he does it in a way that is not, how do you say, a hot mess. The suppression of creativity and happiness he felt that drove him to create "And So We Put Goldfish in the Pool" is present here. Ikuko's situation is different from the rest. She's preyed on by her piano teacher and seemingly all the adult men in her life, which her mother blames her for.
一度ね、ママにあなたなんていなければいいのにって言われたことがあるの。ひど。どんな上だよ。ね、なんかね、みんなあなたに惑わされておかしくなっちゃうからいない方がいいって。無差別恋愛、無差別殺人みたいな。無差別恋愛で人に迷惑かけてるのよって。
Feeling ignored and unwanted or wanted in the wrong way by her parents, when asked by her piano teacher what she wants for her birthday, she asks for her parents to disappear. Something that all kids at one point or another have thought, especially when their parents are distant or overbearing or predatory. And so he murders them. Ikuko straddles between guilt and relief, guilty that her parents were killed over one remark and relief that she isn't surrounded by people who don't care for her well-being. Yuki's home life was violent and his dad abused his mother. When Yuki attempts to defend his mother or to retaliate, he's beaten instead, and it's apparent that this is just another day for him. Each of the children had different dynamics with their parents and found themselves all feeling the same way, or not feeling, as all the others would point out.
ちょっとぐらい泣かないの。自分の親が死んじゃったんだからさ。悲しくないの？悲しいでしょ。そしたら泣くでしょ。感情あるんだから。
All of them take turns revisiting their homes. Yuki took his older brother's guitar, Ishii took the wok his parents used to make him stir-fry in, Hikari took his pocket game, and Ikuko was unable to take anything, but she did get to play her piano one last time. So they find her a keyboard and they make music. Though they never say to each other why they want to start a band, Hikari supposes they're all trying to achieve emotions.
そうか、このバンドはさ、僕らが、ゾンビが感情を手に入れるための冒険なのかもしれない。
Their goals in the film are set up like missions in a video game: acquire emotions, acquire instruments, etc. Since Hikari spends all of his time playing the video game Little Zombies, the title cards and even the characters are influenced by old school computer graphics, and the soundtrack is inspired by 8-bit instrumentals. There's no limit to the themes of this story. It's pretty Kafkaesque. And I'm not just dropping that word for no reason. It's literally inspired by The Castle by Franz Kafka and Stand By Me in video games. There's the theme of zombies, human zombies that is, from being emotionally unavailable to feeling stunted by things we don't like doing that we're forced to do anyway. The kids are transformed into zombies by the early tragedies they experience, the ones that kill the parts of them that can emote. But just because they can't express their feelings the way people want them to doesn't mean they don't have any. She shares her story about the piano teacher and her parents. She calls them and asks them why he did what he did, and she expresses her anger with this. Ishii's parents used to make him stir-fry every day after class, and he speculates that making the stir-fry on that particular day would have caused the fire that killed them, and so he vows,
いつもさ、帰ったらチンジャーロース食べるの。多分その日も同じだっただろうからさ、僕の晩ご飯のチンジャーロース作ってる時に燃えたんだ。一生チンジャーロース食べたくないわ。あれから何食べても味しないんだよね。
Hikari has bad eyesight, and the kids tell him he should consider getting laser surgery or something so he can finally see clearly. But he says he likes the world being blurry when he wakes up, and that
あと親が唯一与えてくれた愛情がゲームソフトだから。そのせいで悪くなったシルクだから。パパとママとのつながりがこの禁断なの。だからレーシックしない。むしろしないの、レーシック。
For Nagahisa, it was quite natural to depict children who do not openly express their sadness. He believes that grappling with sorrow requires immense physical energy, and most kids can't deal with it clearly since their environments are constantly changing. Their defense mechanisms enable them to keep up with life. I don't deny the existence of the more dramatic children characters that are so regularly seen in other films, but I do think it's strange that those are the only one considered normal, because most kids are less emotional than movies have portrayed them to be. Hikari cries only once or twice in the film, and the first time he does it, he doesn't even realize he's crying because he's doing it in his sleep. The movie depicts the stages of grief in a very unconventional way. The children are shocked and they grapple with pain and with guilt and they're angry, but they do so with a reservation. They're only kids, but they've lived long enough to know that life is full of tragedies and death is constant and misery is inescapable. Getting trapped in the melancholy will only make things worse. Grieving is just one facet of the story, though. The fragility of life and the fickle nature of time come up a lot as Nagahisa repeats the importance of doing what you can do when you can do it. The director used to work a corporate job that made him absolutely miserable, and when he set out to start creating things for himself, things that were unconventional and bold, he felt like he was living life the way that he should. The words imparted to Ishii by his father is a central theme of the story. In real life, it's important to act freely and in the moment without worrying about what your goals are. Think of life like a shitty video game that's been placed on the most difficult setting. The game is over when you die. So don't spend your time trying to beat the level, just run around and see everything you want to see before the timer runs out. That's the adventure the children set out to experience after their parents die. Accepting the inevitability of death and the fragility of life, the kids run away together, away from foster parents and juvenile officers, away from a boring life. They steal things for the hell of it. Yuki's idea.
万引きしても万引きしてもさ、俺の人生どんどん減っていくわけ。
They sleep in a hotel for a few days and eventually find themselves living with a group of homeless people. And then they start a band. I don't want to get too much into what happens after they start their band because this is a case where I want to avoid spoiling things in the hopes that you'll leave this video and go watch the movie. But I will say this section provides commentary on the exploitation of kids and the commodifying of tragedy, and I feel like I'm using this word a lot, but it's true, it is very brilliant. The adventure the little zombies embark on, courtesy of Nagahisa's direction, and Hiroaki Takeda's cinematography is a kaleidoscope of experience captured in the film format. Very heavy subject matter and complex ideas are only aided by the technological surrealism provided. Nagahisa studied surrealism in college, so the nature of his films is quite... It tracks. You see things like video games, but you also see things generally how a kid might. How they might imagine certain scenarios playing out. How distractions by imagination can manifest in plain sight. How the most simple things can feel larger than life. Nagahisa makes movies about plots, about story, and about characters, but more than anything, he makes movies about feelings that you can experience, and he captures it in such a way that feels natural and unpredictable at the same time. It's truly captivating.
はーい、みんな笑って。はいはい、君たち。そんなゾンビみたいな顔しないで。はい、チーズ。
The first time I watched this movie, I looked at Hikari and I said, this kid kind of looks like Keita from Like Father Like Son. And I thought, no, that can't be Keita. Wouldn't he be a little bit older by now? And guess what? It's Keita from Like Father Like Son. The kid has taste. He has taste. What can I say?